Hey, this is Dan from userspice.com, and I've got a lot better WebSocket demo for you. So if you were to download the sample code that I have, you'll see that there's a database called ws.sql, and you want to import that into a database called ws. And then you'll notice there's a couple files here. There is socket.php, which is what is sitting there listening for messages to come in, and you have send.php, which is a way to send some sample messages without having to use a third-party service or anything like that. And then you have your normal index.php, which is where they are being displayed. So what we're going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the command prompt, and you're going to need to be able to run PHP commands from your command prompt. If you can't do that, then you'll have to add php.exe to your environmental variables in Windows 7 or whatever you do in other operating systems. If you do that, don't forget to close the command prompt and reopen it before you'll actually be able to use it. So I'm going to type in php socket.php, and it's going to give you an error and just sit there, and you think it's doing nothing, but it's actually doing some stuff. So I'm going to open up a new Chrome window and drag it over, and the first thing you'll see is if I go to localhost wherever I had that thing stored, so ws demo, it's going to open the index.php file and just say what div do you want to go in. So the way I have it set up right now, it is not bringing in all the old messages. This is just going to be from the time you open it. It's really easy to add the old messages. I'm just not doing it. So I'm going to come over here to another window, and I'm going to open up localhost ws demo /send.php, and what it does is it's giving me this option of the divs 1 through 4 and then my name. Now the way this works is the first time you make a connection, it's actually just establishing your ID, so it may not pop in the first time. But if I were to come in here and just say Dan again, Dan's going to come in there. Then from then on, it's going to just do it the first time. So if I say Dan, it'll jump over there, and whatever you type in, it's going to jump to the div that you want. You'll notice I'm not doing any refreshing. It's just going to add those things to the div. So it's pretty sweet, simple demo. Can't really get much easier than that. While we're here, I guess I could show you a couple different things about how it works. So let me open up Atom here for a second, my code editor. So basically what's going on here is socket.php is establishing a few things. I'm including the class. This is some of the composer stuff that I've done for you. I'm importing the class, and then I'm giving that WebSocket a name, basically. So if you were google.com, this is what they call a route. If you've ever programmed in something like an MVC structure or Ruby or something like that, you're used to routes. But basically, you would have mydomain.com /demo would be accepting these WebSocket things, and then new demo is the class name, and the star allows this to be accessed from pretty much anywhere on your server. And so we'll probably won't get into that in this video, but if you're coming here to demo.php, you can see that what's happening is on this on message thing, it's taking the message that comes in and it's looking for a comma in the message. And so what it's basically doing is the number before the comma is the div that you're going into, and whatever's after the comma is what it's going to put up on the screen. So if I put 4 Dan, it's going to put Dan in the 4th div. This is just a complete little demo for you. If I were to go into index.php, what's happening here is you have divs, and they're called 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's establishing the WebSocket connection, and this is that route thing I was just telling you about, and it's going to print to the console that it made a connection. And then what it's going to do in this situation is it's going to parse the message that you got, and this is the message coming from this demo.php. It's going to parse it, and it's going to look for the term message. And so if you come back here to demo, you can see that I'm establishing the word message right here and user. So we're getting this, in fact, just to kind of be a little more clear, it's exploding the array and taking the thing before the comma, array 0, and calling that the message. And then the thing after the comma, array 1, is the user. So when I come back here, it's saying, you know, if you're finding the term message, then remove anything that has the class of that user, and you'll see what's happening down below here, and then add a new one. So what I'm doing here is when I'm adding a row to the table, I'm giving it the ID, so that 1, 2, 3, or 4. So it's going to come up here and add a row to table 1, 2, 3, or 4. But then I'm giving it a class that matches the username, and then I'm adding a table cell and just calling it username. And so the reason why I add this class here is because I want it to jump from one to the other. So in other words, when it gets something called Dan, it's going to remove anything else on the page that has a class called Dan, and then it's going to add a new one and give it a class called Dan. And so that's what actually makes it jump back and forth. So if I open these back up again and I do 3 comma Dan, it's going to remove this Dan and then append a new one here. So, and that's what makes it jump from one to the other. So it's pretty straightforward. I hope you guys like it. Hope it makes sense to you. And if you have any questions, let me know.